What's up, guys? This is GameFox here from GameFox Studios. And today, I just reviewed The Force Awakens. I just finally got it to it. It took me a while to get it, but I watched it in GTX Theater with rumbling subwoofers everywhere. It was fantastic. It's my first review I'm ever done of a movie. So, hope you guys like it and enjoy. Whenever I get to an actor's name, I'll just do this with the mouse. So here you go. This is real new Star Wars movie, Star Wars: The Force Awakens. This is spoiler free, but I'll do a spoiler review later. So Star Wars: The Force Awakens is directed by J.J. Abrams and stars Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Daisy Ridley, David Boyega, Adam Driver, and Oscar Isaac. Basically, a strand of the original cast and a strand of the new cast. And the plot of the movie is that, I guess, Resistance, there's a new leader, sort of, known as the Resistance. The Resistance is the new sort of rebels, and they have, so basically, Luke has left. He's the only Jedi left in the entire galaxy, and he's left the place. But also, they have plans in the map. The Resistance has the plans in the map of where to find Luke. So then, in the First Order, basically the new Empire or the Sith, is trying to find it, and so they go on this huge adventure. So basically Poe Dameron, Oscar Isaac's character, goes in hiding and stuff, and he finds Finn, who's played by David Boyega, and who is basically a clone trooper who tries to turn and run away from the First Order. He does not want to be in the First Order anymore. And meets up with Daisy Ridley, who's also some kind of scavenger in Jakku. So, and they all team up, and then because I'm not gonna talk about it, but Finn and Rey, Daisy Ridley's character, going on an adventure to basically get out and prevent the new First Order to go. First Order is kind of mostly led by Kylo Ren, the new villain, and there's this other character, I think, who they follow, who's the Supreme Leader. I forgot his name, but I'll get it later. Supreme Leader. I'm not going to really give away his name anyways, because even if I did, it would be spoilers. So, the plot's like that. And then they meet up with Harrison Ford and Han Solo. Of course, they meet up with Han Solo, and they go. And then, so, this movie, let's just say, you probably expect a huge nostalgia fest. Because even though, J.J. Abrams' review said he loved A New Hope, it was his favorite Star Wars movie, and he paid a lot of homages to it. There are a ton of homages to this movie, to New Hope, and just the original trilogy as a whole, mainly New Hope, though. Yeah, and, but the main thing isn't, but it's not, nostalgia fully heavy. It's not paying homage, it just feels copied off. You feel like every character is important to advance the plot, and not just there for nostalgic purposes. The main character of the movie, people might be thinking was going to be Finn's character, David Boyega, but Daisy Ridley's Rey is the main character in this movie. What I really liked is that it wasn't CGI fanatic like the prequels. It had CGI, of course it had CGI, but mainly it had practical effects. It used practical effects to its advantage and real life settings to their advantage instead of just green screen rooms. And that's what I really liked and enjoyed about The Force Awakens. Just a little disclaimer, sorry about the bad mic quality. And I felt like everything was meant to be important to advance the plot. I'll talk about the flaws later. There's some flaws to this movie. But I really felt like the performances were fantastic. Most of them were. I guess, let's start with Harrison Ford's Han Solo. He was fantastic in this movie. He felt like he still had the same charisma and style, but he's still 30 years older, so he had some things, but he still had the same charisma and style. Chewbacca, there's so many scenes with him that is so awesome. It was really fun, and you have David Boyaga's character as Finn. He was phenomenal in this movie. He was new character. He's a new actor. He felt like he really fell into the movie. He felt like this dramatic guy who had this past to him. He really felt like he was a special guy, but he had a lack of self confidence. But he felt like he could do something. But then Daisy Ridley's character, Rey, she is the main person in this one. She's fantastic. She really felt emotionally attached to this movie. She didn't feel a single strand where she was just acting. It felt real and deeply fun. Adam Driver as Kylo Ren was fantastic. You had an interesting backstory without any spoilers. Interesting backstory to him that really felt emotional. And he felt so many things about him. And he felt more interesting than Darth Vader in New Hope. There was more interesting than if you got in the first. Compared to two, Kylo Ren's a more interesting character if you think about it. If you haven't watched the movie. If you watch Kylo Ren's a more interesting character. Adam Driver plays extremely great. It's Carrie Fisher. You can actually get performance. Carrie Fisher was fantastic in this movie. She played Leia, and she was fantastic. And people were rumoring about Luke. I'm not going to say anything about Luke. He's in the movie. That's all I'm going to say. But Carrie Fisher was fantastic in this movie. She had a great relationship. You could tell there was some kind of still relationship with Han Solo after a long time. But she did play like an old kind of thing, but she still had connection. BB-8, a lot of people were afraid that he would just steal the show and with his cuteness and everything. Jar Jar Binks. But I think what they did perfectly was they managed the amount of humor that they had with this thing, which I'll get to later about the humor, but they had the amount of humor in this movie, in BB-8's character, and the amount of cuteness, and the amount of importance to the plot he was. R2-D2 was a huge importance to the plot, and that's what we all liked about R2-D2. He had a huge importance to the plot, and so was C-3PO, and they had funny and humorous lines, but they didn't overwrite with their cuteness or charm or wit. They always just stayed in the limelight and just had some humorous dialogue just to kind of lighten the mood, or tell them the odds. By the way, never tell Han Solo odds. Yeah, so I felt like also with Finn, you felt like the interesting backstory that he was a stormtrooper and needed to run. You felt like he felt like a stormtrooper had an interesting arc to him. You've never felt that before. You felt like, I'm not going to get into spoilers, but there is a scene where he talks about it, and it's really emotional. You felt like you know what the stormtroopers are going to be now. Now, the movie's really dark. It has dark themes to it. There's a few dark scenes, tragic and really dark scenes, but it was fantastic. Also, Oscar Isaac was good in this movie. Poe Dameron, he's basically like the new Han Solo. He's great in this movie, and he played some really cool and charismatic guy who just felt really cool and charismatic. But what I felt like this movie had was it had great amount of darkness and tragicness, but still it was really funny. There was lots of humor in this movie. There was laugh out loud funny moments in this movie. And it was really, some of them were just hitting really good in your gut. Like with BB-8, he had a bunch of them, and it was really fantastic in that. So, man, I kind of forgot about doing that character. I forgot to do about that character thing. But here's David Boyaga's character. Here's Daisy Ridley as Rey, Finn, Han Solo, of course, Leia, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, Adam Driver. That's what they are. Chewbacca, I don't know. And then Oscar Isaac, yeah, and then BB-8. But I felt like that was really good. Also, every homage and nostalgic there was so many nostalgic moments that really hit you in the gut, and people were really good with that. And there was so many cameos from other things. It was just fantastic. There was the way everything was executed, the exposition, there was still exposition. You had to have exposition, but what I really felt like this movie had was it had exposition. It just felt like it had it. You had it like it was just used really well, and there was not full like the prequels did. The prequels just had talks and rooms and conference and meetings of just talking and talking of exposition. And this movie got all the story plot points right. And the only real thing about exposition that I just had a huge thing about was like always the opening scroll. That's the only thing. And that's because this is set 30 years. I really like that too. I mean, the main reason why I wanted to do that was because, well, you want to have the original cast, because the original cast is the only thing they could do with these characters. That's that's really an idea, because you get to feel like some things have happened. You get to have stories and things leaked from them. And that was how it was great. And now, the flaws of this movie. Now, there were some flaws. The main flaw of the movie was that it just, there was just one or two moments where the CGI came in, like Phantom Menace or any of those the prequels. It felt like that. There were some CGI characters. Like, basically, the Supreme Leader, he was really CGI looking, and that did kind of detached. And there was some, like, small, like, store clerks and stuff, and one character, like, I think her name is Moz. They both felt like CGI. They just felt like that. And the Death Star, the battle galaxy thing. Sorry, I'm not really. I just don't know what it is, but I really felt like, well, in my humble opinion, like it was huge and it was really big threat, but it just felt like didn't have the biggest threat as you could think about it. It just didn't have the huge threat. You didn't feel like there was a threat. I mean, there was laser shooting out of the thing. Yeah, it was destroyed planets. I mean, yeah, you know, I'm not gonna tell you which planets it is, but destroyed planets. It just didn't feel like I didn't have the feels of this movie. This movie had feels of this movie. Just like the feels of the Death Star were menacing and really great, but it didn't have that feel to it because all it felt like was just some invulnerable thing that it could do. It just didn't feel that well made. I just didn't. I don't think that was good. It was an okay choice. It just didn't feel that it had the thing. And where do you and there's a few scenes in this movie that were great and fantastic and well made. So that was good. But I think what the direction of this movie, J.J. Abrams did a fantastic job with music, score. John Williams' score was fantastic, as good as always. His sets, his pieces, everything was made together with beautiful direction, stunning cinematography that expertly captured what the first original Star Wars trilogy was like, but felt really great. I think what this movie really did well was like those kind of things, those little things that you audience wouldn't get, it still would captivate the audience even more instead of just having. And there's so many wide takes, long shots, and then there's so many choppy shots that were good, close-ups at the right amount of time. It was fantastic. There were emotional scenes and humor in this movie. So overall, this movie had flaws. It had a couple of flaws that was that were just good, I guess. That were there. Didn't actually get away from the enjoyment of the movie. Everything was made to propel the plot, and nothing felt loose. And I like, and one more thing I have to add: this movie was like, not the prequels. The prequels, they always dragged. They dragged and they never had you like moving, always moving. This movie had you always moving. There was no single scene in this movie that just had you stop and just talk for like a long period of time, like the prequels did. And that's good because it felt gripping and it felt gripping, and this is what an action scene would be, and like action movie would be. It's just that you had to always keep moving. It felt more realistic in that kind of sense of a way. And I think in terms of this, the performances were great. And But the performance was great. The cinematography, the way, the shots, the practical effects, the landscapes, and the art, the direction of the movie was fantastic. And it did have flaws, such as some CGI things that looked bad, and the new sort of Death Star, like they didn't have the same amount of dread as a Death Star would. Even the Death Star didn't have that much dread. It didn't feel that menacing. All it did was just shoot lasers and destroy planets. Well, that's bad, I know. But you didn't feel that with tension you would have with it. And there are a bunch of fights and lightsaber battles. It felt really good to have tension. All the things felt tension. There were so many tension moments that you really felt sympathy for the character, and you really felt for the characters. Like, you really wanted them to live, and you didn't want them to die or anything. You just felt you had a sympathy and, I guess, character emotions for the characters and relate emotions and feels for the characters. Which clearly added for the tension. The character development was fantastic. There were different character developments that went in and realized that made you add to the tension and add to the story and propelling the plot forward. And yet there were a couple flaws in this movie that didn't deteriorate, but the flaws were still were kind of noticeable. The main one being the CGI; those were noticeable. So, in terms of that, I have a new rating system. The rating system is going to be out of 15. Now, there's also going to be decimals. Don't worry, there's going to be like 0.3, 0.5, and 0.8 for each one of them. Since this movie and I'm only limiting myself to one 15 out of 15, like in a year. Not like if it's a classic movie. No, if it's good, I'm definitely gonna give it a 15 out of 15. But one 15 out of 15. It could be no 15 out of 15s in a year. I think, but I'm limiting myself to only one, and that means that it has to be perfect in that kind of sense. So I'm limiting myself to only one 15 out of 15. So, because it needs to be great and gripping and stuff. So, only just if it's the movie's released that year, yeah, of course. So that's what its criteria is. Since it had some flaws to it, but it was a really entertaining and really good movie. It was probably billions of times better than the prequels, and it was maybe even better than Return of the Jedi. For all we know, it might be better than Return of the Jedi. It's the best Star Wars movie since The Empire Strikes Back, and I'm giving it a rating scale out of 14 out of 15. And since it's a sci-fi action extravaganza, I have a rating system for those. It's the Terminator movies. Terminator 2 is the highest Terminator 2 is the highest, Terminator's next, and then after that would be Terminator 3, and Terminator Genesis, and Terminator Salvation. Those were the kind of things it would do, and then after that it would just be dog crap. Dog crap is the least for any of them. So, but this movie gets a 14 out of 15 for its kind of flaws, so it wouldn't get any points, like 0.3 or 0.5 or something, or 0.8. But I think it has that, and it would be between Terminator and Terminator 2, but leaning closer to Terminator 2. So, hope you guys like this review. Hope you guys like my review of this movie. My spoiler review will come more. I think it's going to be like 45 minutes long, so be aware of that. Sorry for the stuttering, sorry for the mic quality, and sorry for me talking really, really fast. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Please comment below, see if you actually enjoyed, if you actually agree with my review. If you like the movie, if you dislike the movie, let me below in the comments below. Please subscribe, like, and subscribe for more reviews and countdowns and other gameplay and game reviews maybe. So I hope you guys like this video and subscribe. Gameful Master from Gamefly Studios signing out.